Good day class. Today we're going to talk about costing and estimating for project management. If you do a project and it has been approved at your proposal committee or your project prioritization committee, you would want a budget to be approved such that you can go and execute your project or do planning on your project or do a contextual analysis on your project, depending on what the needs are for the project. In terms of costing and estimating, we first need to determine and to do an estimate before we arrive at a budget. And once we've arrived at the budget, we need to control that budget. And the budget then becomes the cost baseline for the project. Costing and estimating is extremely important on the project for the simple reason that without capital, the project cannot move ahead. And this is the problem that we have with most projects worldwide, is the allocation of capital, either incorrect allocations or underestimated project values or overestimated project values. But without project capital and the proper estimating procedure, the project will not flourish because of the shortage of capital. Now, how would you go about the costing and estimating process? Because it's a very important process, as it will impact on the success and continuity of your project life cycle phases. First of all, from an estimation point of view and costing point of view, you need to estimate what the cost is going to be of this project. Once you've estimated the cost in terms of a rough order of magnitude estimate, a conceptual estimate, etc., you will then arrive at your budget, which is your second process. And once you've got your budget actually becomes your cost baseline. Your cost baseline, the cost baseline is the baseline where you're going to measure the expenditure of the project, the expenditure, and what follows out of the budget is another process, number 3, called cost control. And why do we do cost control? We do cost control not to exceed the budget. So we don't want to exceed the budget. Right. So let us look at the presentation and let me go through it, and so that you can see what are the dynamics around costing and estimating. First of all, the PMI process, Project Management Institute of Cost Management process, are the following. You first need to do your resourcing when you do estimating. Obviously your resources. What does resources include? It includes material, equipment, people, manpower, etc. And that, once you've identified that will go into your basket, where you can then the next step start doing your cost estimating. And when you start doing cost estimating, obviously an estimate is not so accurate as a pure budget. Right, we will see that later on. Once you do your cost estimating, now this is sequential. Once you do cost estimating, you will then, out of cost estimating, the output is cost budgeting. And then you will do a budget for the company to approve on or to apply for, which is relevant to your project. And once the budget has established, that becomes your cost baseline, and then cost control will come into play as you need to control the budget and the cost as you move along across the project life cycle. And remember that cost is a major constraint. Remember the 4 constraints, core processes of project management is time, cost, quality, and scope. Major component. If I can just draw it on the board again, you can see from an estimating point of view, your scope encapsulates, that's your time, that's your cost, and this is quality and performance. As you can see here, that's where your cost, one of the core processes of project management. Let us investigate further. Importance of cost estimating. The most frequent cause of project over expenditure is incorrect and unrealistic estimating. Incorrect and unrealistic. Because people don't, if you don't plan properly, you're going to fail. Your project will not have enough money, or it will have a shortage of capital because of your underestimating. In many situations, you'll find a project manager will do a project up till completion from initiation with a budget of 50 million, and he comes in with a final cost of, let's say, 30 million. Now it seems as if there was a 20 million saving, which is not the case. Not a 20 million saving. That can also be a sign of poor planning, because it means the project manager has worked in too much fat. And if I say fat, he has put in too much extra capital into the project that was totally unnecessary, that never matched the scope of work. Right. So the cause of project overspend is incorrect and unrealistic estimating, which is so true in many cases worldwide. Project estimates. There are three types of estimates. Three types. The one is called a conceptual estimate. The second one is a detailed estimate. And the third one is a definitive estimate.